Ah, yes, little button says live.
Yep. So we're live. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to It's Finally Friday live chat here at the Yarny Bookkeeper. Today we're doing a little something. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry, I had it up on another screen. I don't need to listen to myself. Um, so we're trying something a little different this morning, so just bear with us. Today's video is brought to you via YouTube Live using Google Hangouts, using God knows what. And I'm going to hop on over to Facebook for a second and I will post the link. Oh, hold on. Oh, where? Okay, where is this replay coming from? Uh, there it is. Okay. I have umpteen bazillion windows. Can you still hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. All right. So I'm going to post in the group if anyone would like to join us live. Here's the link. Okay, so I just posted that over in the Facebook group. Um, I don't know. We'll see. At least I don't have to download this and then turn around and re-upload it. So that'll be a good thing. Okay. So today, um, other than being discombobulated and working with a new platform, I did kind of want to touch base on the difference between a sole proprietor and an LLC. Barbie posted in the group that she needs an EIN and she was wondering which way to go. Okay. All of this stuff really is very, very confusing. So let's start with a sole proprietor. Most of us are going to be a sole proprietor because we are the business. But when it comes to taxes and just our general liability for that business, it may not be the best option for us. Um, as a sole proprietor, if you are a maker, and let's say, like, for instance, me, I do a lot of amigurumi. Okay. So I've got all of those little parts and pieces. Now, I use child safe eyes that have the metal washers on the back, but let's say somehow somebody discombobulated that little eye and a kid choked and somebody wanted to sue me. Okay. And we all know people out there are a little crazy these days. So they literally could sue me. And as a sole proprietor, when they sue me, they're really suing me, meaning they can go after my house, they can go after the money that I have in the bank. They could go after everything I own. And that is one of the drawbacks of the biggest drawbacks of being a sole proprietor. I mean, we file a Schedule C for our tax return. The business can obviously account for its income and its expenses. But when it comes to the legal aspect of somebody being able to sue you, they literally can go after everything you own.
Sorry.
Bless you.
Sorry.
That's okay. So, on the flip side, LLCs um, stands for Limited Liability Company. And really, it's a state business entity, and I'm going to be honest, I don't know if all states will allow you to set up an LLC. Vermont does. Janice, you can do it in Ohio. Yep. Okay.
I think that it's pretty much common throughout because we have all sorts of clients, and we do business all over the country where people are LLCs. So yeah, I think it's pretty much it's a pretty broad thing.
Somewhere I thought I read, and this may have been a long time ago, that there are some states that don't allow you to be an LLC. So anyway, LLCs, limited liability company. The name kind of says it all. Limited liability. So in that same scenario where somebody wanted to sue me, they're suing the business. Okay. And they can only sue for up to the amount of assets that the business has. So that's the money in the bank. If I had accounts receivable, they can only get a certain amount, and they can't go after me as a person. Therefore, they can't touch my house. They can't touch my personal checking. They can't touch any of my personal assets. So that's where the limited liability comes in. Hey, Sarah.
Hello.
How are you?
Terrible. I have a cold and I sound worse than I feel.
Oh no.
Yeah, it sounds terrible. But I'm like, I feel fine.
It's cold season.
It is. No, it's kind of annoying because I feel fine. So I'm like, I can go do all the. Oh wait, I probably should stay home.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, in a nutshell, the difference between a sole proprietor and an LLC. So obviously, because I do the amigurumi and I have all those little parts and pieces and I have tried to take the eyes out of a finished critter. It took needle nose pliers, and I pretty much destroyed the little critter in order to get.
You can do that with a blink. Trust me.
Yeah, I know. Me as an adult, I'll kill myself, but a kid can, probably just it's like those childproof lids on the medicine bottles.
I was just going to say that the other day I was trying to get a childproof lid off of a bottle, and I was like, "Where's Bruce when I need him?"
Seriously,
he could have had this off 5 minutes ago.
So, if you're going to do anything like that, you really do want to limit your liability. If you're a pattern designer, I really don't think, that there would be much anybody could sue you for. I mean, what are they going to sue you for? Lost time, damages, and, they ruined a skein of yarn. I can see somebody, unfortunately, I can see somebody trying to sue you, but I mean, they really wouldn't have much of a leg to stand on.
Again, also about the differences in country too. So in Canada, we don't have the same. It's harder to sue somebody kind of randomly. There is a test of like, is this reasonable? So as far as I've been told, at least in the pattern design front, that has like a null chance. I mean, if teaching, on the other hand, yeah, it's one of the reasons I do teach, but I don't teach in my home. Is specifically things like insurance and all that joy.
Oh, yeah, because if somebody hurt themselves in your home while you were doing
exactly.
Yeah. And when it comes to teaching, I mean, I'm sure somebody somewhere, could come up with, well, I went and listened to a video by Nancy Smith and she said to do this. Well, okay. I'm talking from my experience about things that I know, things that I have done. Huge major disclaimer. I'm not a CPA. I don't do taxes. I am a bookkeeper. I know how to do the books to prepare the data for the tax person. I'm not a lawyer. Don't want to be one.
Sorry.
And to be blunt, I sure as hell don't want days. But what I can do is I can teach you best practices for things that I know how to do. And really all this is information, but it's up to each and every one of you to go and get a business advisor, go to Small Business Administration here in the States. They have people who specialize in helping you set up a business. You know, go get a CPA to do your tax return. You know, I mean, talk to them. I can just tell you what I've done and what's worked for me. So you can't, and if you come back and try and sue me, you're going to have one hell of a fight on your hands. So that's my disclaimer for the day. You know, to get an EIN, it's really easy.
Yep.
Go to irs.gov, do a search for, and actually at once upon a time, I could share my screen. I still can. I haven't used Google Hangouts in years. So let me go see if I can share my screen and kind of walk you through where to go at IRS. Now, of course, I've got about 7 browsers open, and do I know which one is the right one? Probably not. Here we go.
I do that on Twitch all the time. Wrong window.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? You know, it's like, I mean, I am used to doing this on a daily basis. But usually when I do a remote or whatever, I don't have the opportunity to, you know, share my screen. I'm always like I'm like peeking into somebody else's life. Yeah, I know.
I'm being a little ridiculous today.
That's fine. It's Friday. It should be.
Oh, it's and with cold and just a lot of stuff going on, my sleep is also kind of limited. So I'm in that sort of, huh? What? Good morning.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay. So here we go. I am going to share my screen. Okay, so here I am at irs.gov. I did a search for FEIN, and the first thing that comes up is apply for an employer identification number online. Now, you can either do this online or you can print out a form, fax it in. If you do it online, you're going to get a tax number. Now, when I did it, I think I had my EIN before I even logged out.
I'll say the same is true in Canada. I got a business number just by going to the CRA website, going through their thing, and at the end of the session, I had a business identification number. And yes, I'm still a sole proprietor. So it's not hard.
You get an FEIN if you're a sole proprietor, don't you, Nancy?
You don't have to. You can use your social security number. I just don't want my social security number out there all over the place.
Yep.
You know, so you can get an EIN even if you are a sole proprietor. And as a matter of fact, some banks will require you to have one in order for you to even open like a business checking account.
That's exactly it. I mean, yeah, and then the same thing here in Canada. I'm a sole proprietor, but I still could go online, get my business identification number, and yeah. So exactly the same. And it just took one online session with the CRA.
Yeah. So it's super easy. You know, it gives you step 1, step 2, step 3, and you just read this, hit the apply online now, and Let's see. I wonder what's going to happen if I do it.
Oh no.
I'm certainly not going to submit it because I don't need another one.
Yeah.
But I'm going to at least try and at least get you guys in the right spot. If I remember correctly, the EIN assistant was actually it was pretty good, and
well, now here's my question: is it similar to Canada, or having the business number that opens up a lot of the other tax things? Because I know for us, it opens up the provincial and federal sales tax collection process. It opens up if
No,
you're
you have to do all of that stuff separately here.
yeah,
Ah.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
I had to apply for an FEIN, and then I had to go to the state of Ohio and apply for a business license there. And then when it comes time now we don't have federal sales tax here; it's all state.
Okay.
When it comes time to start filing sales taxes, I will have to open a sales tax account with the state of Ohio as well, and maybe any other state that I do
Yes,
business in.
that debacle. But no, because
Yeah.
I'm here with the business number, I can then log in using the business number, and if I want to go in for the HST GST, if I make more than 30,000, I have to apply. I have to start collecting sales taxes.
Sure.
Until then, I don't. But if I want to go in for that application process, I can just do that right underneath the business number. If I'm incorporated and hiring actual people on payroll kind of thing, I can do all that through that or there as well, which is really nice actually.
It certainly is.
Sales-
Here we're all very fragmented. Like federal is federal. When you apply for your EIN, you can also set up, payroll taxes.
There are a few things that are provincial here in Canada, but most of it is bundled. So even if it's provincial, it's still the same setup. Mostly. There are a few surprises of, oh, what do you mean that's through the Ontario government? All right then.
Must be
But
nice.
mostly it's CRA handles provincial and federal taxes and then figures them out for you. Of course, that means we have a super odd tax form because half the tax form is provincial taxes and half the tax form is federal taxes. So it's figuring out, okay, you want this line from the federal return, this line from the provincial return. All right, this goes here. That's fun. But having it still simplified is yeah. I listened to some of you folks' mistakes and I'm like, wow, ouch.
Oh yeah, it's fragmented and it's crazy, and
for a little history lesson, it was never supposed to be that way. The federal government was supposed to stay out of our business. It was all supposed to be ordained and regulated and ruled or what have you by the state that you lived in. But the last 100 years or so, basically since the Civil War and then since the Great Depression, the federal government just sticks their noses more and more and more into our business, and they should stay away.
Which is weird because there's so much federal stuff here. But it just started that way.
Yeah, well, anyway.
Yeah, and all of this, folks, is why you really need to go see a tax preparer.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And also seconding a business advisor of some kind, because you can also, if you don't know, you can ask them the questions, and a good business advisor, at least with my experience, will then go, okay, I don't know, but here's how we can find out for you.
Correct. And let me just tell you the terms, but I didn't know. I had no idea. Nobody told me.
Nobody cares when the government comes after you.
Absolutely. It is not a reason. It is not a justification. And Janice is absolutely correct. Nobody cares.
The only thing I have found, at least here in Canada with the smaller crafting community, is that the CRA, as long as you demonstrate that you're not off the hook, but if you truly demonstrate oh crap, I didn't know that, and how do I fix it, you'll still be paying fines, you'll still be paying money, but they will at least not be complete jerks. There's at least that. So if you honestly, really seriously did make a mistake, in general, this is of course all up to the discretion of whoever you end up dealing with. But apparently, in general, if you do make a mistake that's big enough on your taxes to not just be a extra payment, they're usually, again, this is all their discretion, sort of in the, okay, you messed up, you're still paying the fines, you're still doing the whatever you have to do, but we're not going to bring the entire hammer of everything down on you.
They'll usually give you a chance to,
yeah.
They'll set up payment schedules and stuff like that. Of course, you'll continue to accrue interest and penalties, but they're generally, as long as you're making an effort, they're not total dicks here.
And the other thing that's nice, if you've made a mistake in your taxes and it's like you should have done this and didn't, I haven't had this experience, but from a couple other crafters, it's we will make sure you don't do this again.
Yeah,
exactly. So, and like I said last week, anybody who has up until now done their own business taxes this year, don't even think about it.
Yeah.
There are so many changes. There are so many things that are different. Only somebody who does this for a living is going to know how to do your taxes this year.
Yeah, that's going to be one of my questions. I've been doing my own taxes as a sole proprietor for the last while. And again, in Canada, it's not too bad, but that's going to be one of the things I have to put to my business advisor. Just what are all the tax changes and how much do they matter? And should I find somebody? Because, I have to take a long look at it. But yeah, that's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, and
because a lot of them in the U.S. don't affect me, but I need to make sure that none of them matter. that's going to be the like some of them. It's been flat out explained like this doesn't matter. You're not in the U.S. It's fine. But some of them are like, we don't know. I'm like, that's not helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, it certainly isn't. I know next week I signed up for a webinar for accounting people that's going to talk about sales tax issues when you sell on Amazon or Craftsy or Etsy. And that's Tuesday, I think, whatever day the 18th is. So I'm hoping to have
Craftsy and Etsy.
Excuse me?
You mean Ravelry, Craftsy, and Etsy? You said Amazon.
Oh, Amazon too. They've
got that. They got the handmade market now. I haven't tried it, but they've got that.
Do they really?
Market. Yep. I haven't heard much about it, but they do have it.
I heard it was very spendy.
Yes, and that's what I heard too. The fees are pretty bad on it.
So I'm hoping next week to have some insight from that. And unfortunately, it's not something that's just like open to the general public. It is open to accounting professionals, and it's actually put out by a company that does a QuickBooks add-on. And because my life kind of centers around QuickBooks, and I'm one of them certifiable QuickBooks Pro Advisor type people, I get the opportunity to take advantage of stuff like this. So, well, it is nice and it isn't. I mean, I could spend my entire life doing nothing but, attending webinars.
Yeah, that's fair.
But there are times that it really is very advantageous, and so that's what I'm going to do next week, and hopefully next Friday when we do the live chat, however we end up doing it, I'll have some information. So hopefully, I hope that this Google Hangout YouTube Live thing is going to be beneficial. And if anybody out there watching knows how in the name of God to connect Zoom or this YouTube Live using Google Hangouts on air, if you know how to connect that to a Facebook Live, I would be eternally grateful.
Oh, okay. Yes, but you have to use like third-party software. There's an entire process. Yeah, I looked at it and went, no.
That's I either found you need to use a third-party tool, and then it doesn't really let me know if I can add people in, and that's one of the things that I loved about Zoom. You know, you and Janice could come in, anybody else could come in that they wanted to, and you know, we could literally have a discussion. Facebook Live.
You hated that last week.
I really do.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and it's me. It's my own personal, whatever the hell you want to call it. You I detest. I detest sitting here in my office all by myself talking to a computer screen. It makes me feel like, the old Alzheimer dementia lady who's like talking to somebody that really, that is but isn't there. I talk to myself so much on a daily basis because I am here by myself, that to sit here and in front of this screen and just blither, I don't like it. I know most people prefer Facebook Live because you're there. You don't have to, you don't have to literally join in. You can just type in a question or whatever. And actually, it was really nice last week. I mean, the Facebook Live, there were more people who had like popped in, and there was more activity than just doing a Zoom meeting with the two or the three of us and then turning around and posting it. And so it's there's good and there's bad.
I think people are intimidated with getting in front of a webcam.
Well, yeah, and I said to Janice when her and I started this, I said, "Yeah, sorry about the hair. It's called." It's been below zero. There is enough static electricity in this stuff that I can sit on, and God forbid I've been wearing a hat. So, I literally look kind of like I stuck my finger in a light socket. So hence it corralled the hair.
Yeah, well, you can't tell, and I'm glad of it, but my brain is falling out.
No, I looked at me the first couple of times we recorded something and went, "Oh, Jesus, you look terrible." So here I am.
Yeah, well, it just goes to prove we're all human.
This is one of the reasons. This is one of the reasons I said you should never work in your pajamas.
Well, you could have from the waist down. I mean, on top you could have a lovely, a lovely outfit, and you could be in your PJs or your sweats or whatever at the bottom, and as long as
what
you
can't see is I've got black leggings with gingerbread men and candy canes all over.
Nice,
cool.
Very nice.
You're very holiday-ish.
I'm very holiday-ish today.
But it's just it's much more interactive, and the cool thing for me, Sarah, is Sarah joins in. She's from Canada.
Hello.
I know nothing about Canadian law or government or running a business in Canada. I just know I love going to Montreal and staying in the old section and walking down the little cobblestone street to the corner and getting crepes and fondue.
Tasty.
At Chez Suzette.
I have not been to Montreal in years. I should go back.
I've been in the spring, in the summer, in the fall, and also in the winter. I will not go back in the winter again. Yeah, I think it's cold here, and I think I think the only reason it feels colder there is there's so much cement and granite and rock buildings that it just
Absolutely. That's what makes it hotter there in the summer and colder there in the winter.
Well,
Yes,
Yeah.
because all
the
that
other thing
stuff
is-
reflects it.
if you're closer to one of the lakes, you get the problem that we have here in Toronto, which is, sure, it only goes about -4, -5 Celsius. But combine that with damp, and you're miserable. Like,
Well, and you're on
Toronto
the
weather is
wrong
not-
side of the lake for lake effect snow too.
yes.
So that's
So,
good. I'm a
You
little
either
too
have the
far
prairies
south.
where you get -20, -30 Celsius on a regular basis, or you get places like Toronto and across southern Ontario where it doesn't get as cold, but you get the lake humidity, so it's cold and wet.
Yeah.
yeah that cold and wet is like really icky.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't find a lot of people talking about Canadian business requirements. You know, and I know there have been people in the group, and I think actually early on, Sarah, you asked me what I knew about Canada, and it was like, not a damn thing.
Most of it is not bad, I found. There's a few quirks. For example, I am subject, if I sell finished things, I'm subject to the Canadian Textiles Act, which annoys me. Because under the Canadian Textiles Act, I either have to pay to put a little number on the stack of everything I make and sell, or I have to put my address on it. It's the same thing that the little sticker that's like made in Canada, and I have to list fiber content.
Yeah.
But the other half of that is I have to have either a little number that I can go and apply for, but it costs money, or I have to put my home address, like, or my business address if I sell anything like physically made. And God forbid I'm selling, like, this is one of the things I do not sell anything for kids. It's like a physical thing. Because that is a monster of regulations. Like, for like things like blankets and just adult garments, not too bad. But for, if I were to sell kids' clothes, it's this whole, like, I have to go through this entire process, like, fire testing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not doing that. So I
Yeah.
don't sell anything that's could be used for kids because of that. Yeah, that was the biggest one I found so far. I do encounter more as I research and find out like more about what I need to do. But that was the fun of the Canadian Textile Act.
Yeah, and there's similar things here in the U.S. Like there's a toy safety act that you have to follow, and you know, and then of course there's flame retardant, blah blah blah, and I mean. And if I were to like make jams or jellies, which I do for my own use, but if I wanted to sell them, I have to list absolutely everything, including the contents of like the Sure Gel packet that I used.
Yeah, I would have to do it in French
More
too.
states are enacting food freedom laws where that's making that kind of thing obsolete because it's untenable for a cottage industry. Maine has started to enact a new law.
I appreciate it as someone with food allergies where I have to know what's in stuff.
Yeah.
On the other hand, like I get it. After a certain point, like it's so hard to know what's in your mixes. I mean, that's when I have to start calling and going, okay, help.
Well, I think that if you're canning something to sell that's edible, you still have to list any common allergens.
Yeah.
Tree nuts, soy, milk, wheat, things like that. But you don't have to, like Nancy says, you don't have to go and list the ingredients from the Sure Gel pack.
Yeah.
It just says pectin. That's what they put on.
No, and unfortunately, I have to admit, I'm one of the people who's allergic to the weird thing that's not one of the normal allergens. So then I just go, ugh.
What are you allergic to?
I'm allergic to carmine, which is cochlear dye, which is also known as red dye number 4. Yeah.
Ah.
And so it's often just listed as color, and I'm like, that is not helpful. I need to know which dye you used. But even like from a business perspective, I get it. Like as long as then I can phone or email you and ask that question, and it's like okay, yeah. But the fun thing is, if I were to do any, I'm not getting into food, but if I were to do any kind of food, I would have to do the labeling in French and English.
Oh, that hadn't even occurred.
Because we have the 2 official languages, so my patterns are exempt because, like, as long as I'm producing in English, that's fine. But in terms of like any like federal labeling requirements, everything has to be in French and English.
Yeah.
Which luckily my high school French is bad, but not that bad. I think I could probably pull it off. Well, French is I'm also a mandatory school subject here, so I do know some French. I stopped taking it in high school, but so yeah. And if not, I could always go to my roommate and go, "You're actually fluent. Here, help me figure this out."
Thank you.
Isn't that more of an issue in
Okay, Quebec is the primary French-speaking province, and they have their own set of rules for a lot of things. But the thing is, because our federal languages are French and English, just straight. So anything federal has to be bilingual, and there's some industries where you have to be bilingual, and some where you don't, unless yeah. But for any kind of packaging, if you'll notice, if you ever watch the imports, anything packaged in Canada has to be in French and English. That's just a thing.
Yeah.
It can be in other languages as well. But if you and there are some rules around the imports. If you're importing from another country, it's a little bit different. But yeah, it's interesting. So there's some areas where I'm I'm not doing that because I'd have to figure out what this is in French.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, further down the line, I want to do actually my patterns in French, but that means I have to relearn my French.
Now just find yourself a really good translator.
Yeah, and that service does exist. So, but yeah, no, it's interesting because you don't think about it. And the thing I will say, from a Canadian perspective, it's not just laws, but also profitability. Target tried to come up here, and they failed spectacularly. And it was just because of the difference in mindset. And I have noticed that in the US, too. There is a cultural difference in mindset. So what works in Canada doesn't always work in the US and vice versa.
That makes sense, actually.
It does.
We do business with a European company, and that is essential to the software that we sell. And it has just been one headache after another. They're out in Russia and the Ukraine. And it is just, oh my gosh. Yeah, they don't do business the same way.
Yep. So when Target came up here, there was a lot of just, wait, but why? Why are you doing that?
I have to go, Nancy.
So, anyway,
I have things.
We've gotten off topic. No, you do.
Yeah, and in keeping with our traditional 30-40 minutes, even though I don't have that limitation anymore, yay, we should sign off for this week. And next week, I will report back what I have found as far as our responsibility as a handmade business selling through ventures like Etsy, Craftsy, Amazon, Ravelry.
Let the headache begin.
I let the headaches begin. Maybe we should start drinking next week. I don't know.
Oh, great. Are we going to do a shots game on the broadcast? Please no.
Every time you hear sales tax, everybody take a shot.
Please no. That would not go well.
I don't know. It might be fun, for the first couple. After that, we have to. Have a great week, ladies. Right. Thanks for joining me.
Bye.
Bye.